how the Chartres labyrinth evolved. It started with the classic 7-layer labyrinth, and then it moved to a square version. Ancient classical 7-circuit labyrinth called the Jericho Labyrinth, 9th century Italy. Concentric 7-circuit labyrinth with a large centre, 9th century Aachen, Germany. 11-circuit labyrinth, Otfrid model, 9th century Germany. 11-circuit Chartres labyrinth, 12th to 13th centuries, France. Here we have the same Jericho model in Pompeii. Note that the Jericho labyrinth existed in Roman Pompeii, which was destroyed by Mount Vesuvius in 79 AD. Evidence of the labyrinth of the Minotaur and others existed in ancient Rome. Labyrinths and spirals were also significant in Roman art. Analysis of the Chartres shape. I felt that I should remove the length of the curves from the coil to see the actual paths clearer. So I cut out the parts that I needed, and I joined the parts to see the path more clearly. It meant something more to me when I saw this about a day later. In Egyptian mythology, Apep was an evil demon, the deification of darkness and chaos, and thus opponent of light and order and truth. Does this sound familiar? You could ask Eve who it is. I'm sure that she would know. One of my early suspicions is that the labyrinth is the shape of a coiled snake. And again. Snake worship was very common in early times and still exists today. Romans 1:22-23. Although they claimed to be wise, they became fools and exchanged the glory of the immortal God for images made to look like mortal man and birds and animals and reptiles. Nazca lines. Ancient religions warped the shapes of the animals that they worshipped. Here we have a monkey, a spider, a bird, and various lines and spirals. These same people walked labyrinth shapes. Sun worship, as quoted by a manufacturer of portable labyrinths. In Gothic churches, labyrinths always had the entrance opening to the west, so that when you entered the labyrinth, you were facing east, towards the altar and the rising sun, which we have in brackets, risen sun. Isn't this making Jesus, the Son of God, to be the rising sun? What does God say about this? Ezekiel chapter 8. And he said to me, Go in and see the wicked and detestable things that they are doing here. So I went in and looked, and I saw portrayed all over the walls all kinds of crawling things and detestable animals, and all the idols of the house of Israel. He said to me, Do you see this, Son of Man? You will see things even more detestable than this. Then he brought me into the inner court of the house of the Lord, and there at the entrance to the temple, between the portico and the altar, were about 25 men, with their backs towards the temple of the Lord, and their faces towards the east. They were bowing down to the sun in the east. This means that sun worship is even more detestable than idols. This labyrinth has been set up with the entrance at the west, so that when you entered the labyrinth, you are facing east, in the direction of the rising sun, as per the instructions. Here we have another labyrinth on the floor. Witchcraft websites are offering to sell and provide courses on labyrinths, such as this one. This is from a witchcraft supplies website, Magical Labyrinths. Use these wonderful labyrinths for meditation, focus, spell work, aid in healing. The labyrinth is an image often found laid out in stone at ancient sites worldwide. It was often used in a ritual for initiatory rites or as rites of passage into adulthood. It is a symbol of grounding and awakening to the earth's energies. Chartres Labyrinth. The labyrinth connects us with the earth energies and helps us to ground and focus the balancing effects of the earth. Celtic Druids. Labyrinths play an important role in Druidism, as do stone circles which they use as temples. Druids believe in many gods and reincarnations. Here we have a picture from a Druid website of some modern day Druids walking a classical labyrinth. Druidism was shut down by the Romans due to human sacrifices, but continues today. Druids are associated with magic wands and cauldrons. They had a sun god and a god of the dead. Tohono, O'Atum and Pima tribes of southern Arizona. They have their own version of the labyrinth, which follows those same patterns. E.E. Toy brought people to this earth from the underworld. He lives in the maze so people can't find him. An old Indian quotes, "Elder brother lived in the maze, magician or medicine man that can disappear and that can do things, heal people and things like that." When you reach the middle of the maze, that's when you see the sun god, and the sun god blesses you and say you have made it. That's where you die. What is the underworld? It is Hades, or as we more commonly know it, hell. So who is E.E. Toy? He's a demon. They too had a sun god and a god of the dead. Matthew 16, verse 18. And I say unto thee that thou art Peter, and upon this rock I will build my church, and the gates of hell will not prevail against it. The labyrinth entrance must be the gates of hell, and the church must fight against it.